All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, most mind-bending questions of our time. What on earth happens when AI can do just about every job better and cheaper than a person? We're going to explore the huge challenges and some of the really creative solutions for a world where work might not mean what it used to.
And look, this isn't just some sci fi thought experiment. It's the absolute core economic puzzle of the AI age. Imagine a world where AI can create unbelievable abundance, churning out everything we could ever want. But if no one has a job, and therefore no income, who's going to buy any of it? The whole system just grinds to a halt. So, how do we fix that?
Okay, to get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. First, we'll really define the problem itself. Then, we'll look at 2 completely different schools of thought on how to solve it. After that, we've got to tackle the giant question of how to pay for all this. And finally, we'll bring it all back down to earth with a much-needed reality check. So let's kick things off by really digging into the core issue here. It's a weird problem to have, for sure, but it's a real one. This strange paradox that gets created when production becomes almost limitless. So, this is what we're talking about when we say the paradox of abundance. It's this bizarre future where we've totally solved the production problem. We can make anything and everything. But in the process, we've accidentally destroyed the main way people get money to buy things, which is, having a job. In a healthy economy, things are supposed to work in this nice, simple circle. Companies pay people wages for their work, and then people turn around and use that money to buy stuff from those very same companies. It's a clean, self-sustaining loop. But then AI comes along and just shatters that loop. It steps in and replaces human labor, completely severing that critical link between work and income. All the incredible wealth that AI generates starts to pool with the owners of the technology, but it stops circulating back to everyone else. The system just gets clogged. All right, so if the main money pipeline is broken, what do we do? Well, the first big set of solutions is all about building a totally new one. It's focused on one thing, getting cash directly into people's pockets. And the idea you've probably heard the most about is, of course, Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The concept is beautifully simple. Just give every single person a regular check, no questions asked. The whole point is to separate basic survival from the need to have a job. Now, to make this feel real, you can look at Andrew Yang's proposal for a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month. It's a great start, but here's the catch, and it's a big one. Critics are quick to point out that $1,000 a month, well, it doesn't even come close to replacing a median income. For a family, that's still way below the poverty line. Which of course leads to the massive question, where does all this money actually come from? And generally speaking, you've got 2 major camps here. Do you tax all of the new wealth that's being created and redistribute it? Or do you just print new money? So let's break this down. The traditional way is to tax the huge profits AI companies are making and then hand that out. But, you run into the classic problems of tax evasion and just not being able to collect enough. On the other side, you have this really different idea from modern monetary theory, or MMT, which says, hey, if AI is creating more stuff, we should create more money to match it. The big risk there? Causing crazy inflation for the things that are still physically scarce, like a house or the energy to heat it. So giving people cash is one thing, but what if instead of just giving them a slice of the pie, we gave them a piece of the bakery that makes the pie? This next set of solutions is all about ownership, making sure everyone has a stake in the companies, the data, and the real assets that are going to be generating all the wealth. And OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, has a pretty wild idea for this called the American Equity Fund. Get this, it's not a cash tax. Big companies would have to pay a tax in their own stock. All those shares get pooled into a massive public fund, and then every single adult citizen gets a dividend check from it. It's a way to make every American a shareholder in, well, America Incorporated. But what if we're looking at this whole thing completely backwards? This quote from technologist Jaron Lanier is a total perspective shift. He's arguing that AI isn't really autonomous magic. It's just a giant machine for collecting and remixing all of our human creativity, our photos, our writing, our ideas. We're all contributing. We're all working for the machine, just for free. And that powerful idea leads us right here to what's called data dignity, or data as labor. It's the simple, radical principle that your data is your work and you deserve to get paid for it. It completely reframes the whole conversation. It's not about AI replacing us. It's about AI finally compensating its human collaborators. So how would you even do that? Well, the leading idea is something called data unions. Think of it just like a classic labor union, but for the digital age. Instead of going it alone, we all pool our data together. This gives us collective bargaining power, and the union can then negotiate fair payment from tech companies on our behalf. And the money they make? It gets paid right back out to us, the members. Okay, so we've got these incredible ideas on the table: direct cash, shared ownership, data wages, but they all come back to that one nagging problem: who pays for it all? This is a massive challenge when the main way governments get money, the income tax, is basically drying up. Let's look at how we might fund this new world.
I mean, this is literally the trillion-dollar question, right? If fewer and fewer people are earning a wage in the traditional sense, then the entire tax system that modern society is built on, it just kind of evaporates. So if you can't tax income, what can you tax?
So here are some of the big ideas being floated. A robot tax sounds intuitive, right? Tax the machine that replaced the worker. But the fear is you might accidentally slow down innovation. A land value tax is actually super efficient and targets rising asset prices, but it's always been politically impossible to pass. Or you could tax the raw ingredients of AI, like compute power, or go after excess profits. But for both of those, you risk companies just packing up and moving somewhere else. There's no easy answer.
Okay, for our final section, we need a serious reality check. Because for all this talk about digital infinity and zero-cost services, we still live in a very physical, very finite world. And that's something we can't forget. This is called the Jevons paradox, and it is absolutely crucial to understanding the future of AI. The idea is simple. When technology makes something cheaper and more efficient, we don't end up using less of it. We end up using way, way more. And that's exactly what's happening with AI. Cheaper intelligence doesn't mean less energy use. It means a massive explosion in the demand for electricity to power all these data centers. And what that leads to is this really weird split in the economy, this bifurcated inflation. On one hand, all the digital stuff, streaming movies, getting information, generating art, it becomes deflationary. It gets cheaper and cheaper, basically free. But on the other hand, the physical stuff you need to run the AI, energy, rare minerals, land for data centers, that gets super, super expensive. So you can probably see where this is going. There's no one single silver bullet here. The most likely solution is going to be a hybrid, a mix of all these ideas. You need an income floor, like a UBI, to act as a safety net. You need to spread ownership through things like equity funds. You need to give people power over their digital lives with data unions. And maybe most importantly, you need a massive, coordinated public investment in the physical world, especially clean energy, to actually power the whole revolution.
And that's really what it all boils down to. For pretty much the first time in human history, we're building the tools to create a world of genuine abundance, a world without material scarcity. The technology problem is on its way to being solved. The real test, the one that's going to define the next 100 years, is a human one. How are we going to choose to share it?